Welcome to the first episode of the Norwalk Film Festival Podcast. I am Sean Fox, one of the volunteer board members for the festival. Whether you're watching the video on YouTube or listening, we appreciate you joining us on this new venture. If you are new to the Norwalk Film Festival in general, welcome. This year is our fourth annual festival, and it'll be held January 19th through the 21st in Norwalk, Connecticut. On the 19th, we have an opening night party at 314 Beer Garden, and then 2 full days of programming at the Wall Street Theater and Norwalk Public Library. The theater will be hosting 2 days of all of our screenings of the films, and the library will be hosting mixers and professional panels. It's a really fun weekend with some really great people, so we really hope to see you out there. We're doing this interview series to help share the stories of some of our filmmakers before the festival gets started, so that you can get to know them a little bit before seeing their films in person. And we really do have a great lineup this year. It's, as I said, it's our fourth annual festival. We have over 60 films this year, and each season the quality keeps improving more and more. We're blown away with the talent, the storytelling, and just the overall filmmaking that is submitted to our festival each year. And we're really, really excited about the crop of films that we have this year for you. The first film we're highlighting on this podcast series is a documentary about a local wrestler here in Norwalk. Tough for a Girl is a film by JD Freda and Norwalk Public Schools. The film follows a new generation of female athletes taking shape in Norwalk, this time on the wrestling mats. National champion Callie Gilchrist and high school All-American Rylee Donohue are looking to lead that next charge out of Norwalk. I talked with JD about his film. All right, we are joined by JD Freda, the director of Tough for a Girl. JD, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So first of all, before we jump into the film, just tell us a little bit about what you do with Norwalk Public Schools.
So I am our digital media specialist here at Norwalk Public Schools. So a lot of the look and feel of the visual aspects of Norwalk Public Schools, our graphics, our printed materials, that kind of has all fallen under my jurisdiction. So I'm very much the video and photo look and feel of Norwalk Public Schools is kind of what I'm responsible for.
Okay. So how did you decide you want to do a documentary on Callie and her wrestling journey?
Well, that's interesting because I didn't anticipate doing a documentary on Callie's wrestling journey. The way that it works is we kind of get prompts for different types of social media posts or quote graphics, and we basically get tapped by an individual at a school or someone within central office here for, hey, this might be interesting. So I was sent an email from one of the athletic directors at one of the schools, and we're saying, hey, this is Callie Gilchrist. She is a very accomplished wrestler, and she just won girls nationals. And I said, that seems like a cool story. So I went to my boss and said, let's go see what this is all about. And my boss, Nick, said, let's, if it's worth doing a 2-minute piece, let's go do one. Mm-hmm. And I said, great. So I brought my camera just in case. What I did not know or expect is that when I left speaking with Callie, I came back and told my boss, this is not going to be a quote graphic. This is not going to be a 2-minute piece. You're going to need to give me some time with this one.
Yeah. No, I mean, that certainly comes through that she's got so much to talk about, and how much, her journey and what she's trying to build is really a big part of it. I think it's really interesting how she mentions that she was, I can't remember if it was nationals or states, but she the next day volunteered at like the youth camp, and like a bunch of kids were coming up to her and be like, oh my God, you're Callie Gilchrist. Like, that's so awesome. And
yeah, I think that's really kind of was the impetus for me wanting to do this. It wasn't just an outstanding athletic achievement story, right? We hear a lot about those, and every school district, every town has an outstanding student athlete that they can point to that has a story. Everyone has a story, but I think what made Callie's story unique was that she didn't reflect or point inward. She kind of used her story to reflect outward to what she wanted to do for not only girl student athletes and female student athletes around the district and around the state, but for the next generation of them as well. Like, she wants to use her story and her achievements to kind of formulate what the future of female sport athletes look like moving forward. And she takes it as a blessing and as a responsibility that she gets to lead that charge.
For sure. And she even did it with her cousin, bringing her up and leading her into the wrestling world. So just generally, were you a fan of wrestling before you did this? What was your awareness of like wrestling like this, non-WWE style wrestling?
Sure. So I was familiar with wrestling. I've actually done. I did a piece in college on a trio of brothers who were very accomplished in wrestling. It was actually pretty cool the way it worked out, where the eldest brother set a school record for amount of wins. The middle brother came in 2-3 years later, broke that record, and then the youngest brother came in and broke both of their records. And I was able to do a piece on that. So I would definitely say I have a peripheral awareness with the sport of wrestling, and especially at the high school level.
Gotcha. So was there anything that you learned while you were making this? I mean, whether wrestling or just in general?
I think I learned more about human perspective than I did wrestling, which is that when speaking with Callie and speaking with her uncle, who is her coach, and speaking with her cousin, who is a year older than her, at the time when I interviewed Callie was a sophomore at the Center for Global Studies, and I just found it amazing, the just level of thought that she had put into her very young high school athletic career, and kind of the legacy that she wanted to leave as she was a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old at the time. Like, I thought back and reminisced on my high school days, and I did not have the foresight that she did. So I was very impressed at just everything that she had to say. And so in terms of a human interest story, I found in human psychology, I found it very interesting to see how she was so focused on what she wanted to do. And people like that, I find interesting.
Yeah. I mean, she's looking at the bigger picture versus just, I want to win nationals, I want to win states, I want to do whatever. Like, seeing the legacy that she can build and the foundation for other female athletes coming up is really cool to see. And it's really impressive, at least at a state level, that she's doing so much of it against boys, and we're wrestling all the time and racking up these wins against boys, which I'm sure is a bit of a, that's a different part of the story too.
Yeah, I think that was a very unique portion of this narrative, which is, while it's extremely impressive for a girl student athlete to really dominate in a sport that is, for lack of a better word, dominated by boys at the high school level and beyond, to not only be so successful wrestling girls at nationals, like it was said in the documentary, she pointed out, like, she was the first girl to do X, Y, and Z. She was the first girl to set kind of these standards from Norwalk Public School, and I just thought it was a really interesting piece that she was doing it against boys, which is the way that she pointed out, like, none of her teammates or the boys that she would wrestle throughout, the conference, or who she would wrestle normally, like, no one looked at her as, oh, like, now I'm going to wrestle a girl. They looked at her as, like, I'm going to go wrestle one of the best wrestlers in this conference. I'm going to have to bring my A game. And that was something I found really, really interesting when she explained it.
Yeah, being able to, like, shift that perspective is that being seen as a wrestler versus being seen as a girl wrestler is really inspiring, and I think that's I've jotted down the quote. Just when she was talking about wanting to be a role model, and not just a role model for girls, but also a role model for boys, so that they can see, they understand girls can do this too. So building. I thought that was a very inspirational way to look at it. That she's not doing it just for the girls, but this whole generation below her to really understand it.
And I think she was really I think you could see at some point in the documentary, she was really moved at the fact that people knew who she was and that she was making an impact already in such a young wrestling career. And she has been wrestling since she was very young, but at the high school level, at that time, having only wrestled 2 full seasons, I think she was really taken aback at, how much of an impact she's already made within that community. And that community within itself, the wrestling community is a very tight-knit community. So I think it's a perfect training ground, or breeding ground for her to make such a big impact, because like Coach Art said in the documentary, like, she's on a first name basis with Olympic level athletes.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's so cool.
Yeah. So she feels the impact from the top of the ladder, and she is just continuing that trend and, bringing that next generation along. So it was very cool to see that she was so affected that younger wrestlers already knew her name. Something as simple as that.
Yeah. And she's looking ahead to the future too, and her future college plans, but not just looking at who's got the best wrestling program out there, or that she's being recruited to, but she wants that solid academic background as well, just showing how great of a well-rounded person she is.
Right. She was very interested in, when we spoke with her, she was very interested in a career in STEM and in schooling in one of the STEM fields. And very well-rounded. Again, when I went to go speak with her for the first time, really one of those people that she could have told you she wanted to do anything and I would have believed her.
Yeah. How long did it take you to put it all together?
So after that initial conversation that we had, I actually spoke with her uncle, I think first, and that's when I kind of knew that it would be a little bit bigger of a story. And then when I spoke with her, I said, it was funny. Initially, it went from 2 minutes, and then I said, my boss ended up giving me, all right, we'll do about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I think the final product ended up being just around 17 or so minutes. So it kept growing in size because there was just so much to tell. And I still ended up cutting a bit out. But I think we did this over the course of 3 months or so. I think we had 4 or 5 different shoot days, and then editing, sporadically throughout the next month or so. So. Yeah.
Editing, always the forgotten part of the process.
Of course.
Looking past this, what other projects are you working on? But are you working any longer form stuff for right now, or just kind of working on whatever's coming your way?
So it's interesting. Definitely stuff that comes our way. We have a lot of shorter things that pop up. So this was unique in the sense that we typically do a lot more 60-second to 3-minute pieces. So a lot more short form content, which was kind of that was the ask when I first came into this role, is they wanted to produce more video content, but they wanted to focus on short form content. I think this piece has kind of shown that we're capable of doing more as a department. And I think now we look to doing more long form pieces. And we're actually looking to do something in a similar vein with some student athletes, hopefully in the spring, where we look to follow them to their ultimate performance in whatever sport that they do. So we're going to look to do kind of maybe somewhat of a docuseries kind of feel, where we follow maybe 2 or so student athletes as they prepare for their seniors, as they prepare for their final performance as a member of Norwalk Public Schools.
That sounds awesome. And I mean, this is a great project to be the jumping off point, I think. And we're really honored to be screening it this year at the Norwalk Film Festival. Have a nice, a really inspirational local story like this as part of our programming is really special, and we're very happy to be able to show it.
Well, thank you guys. It really is it's an honor for me, and I come from a journalism background, so someone who's just interested in stories first and foremost. And when I was a journalist, my favorite stories to write were human interest pieces. So when something like this came across my desk, it was something really cool that I knew I had to jump on, and to have more than just the immediacy of the people in this office see it, I think is really cool. And honestly, I was just really happy. We did a screening with the family and everyone involved in the documentary, the coaches, and We did that back in the summer, and we showed it here at City Hall. And I remember saying, if nothing else, if just they appreciate it and they enjoy it, that's what it's all about. So they loved it, and that meant a lot to me. But being able to show it to the larger community and really get the message out of female empowerment and like caring about what the next generation has and resources and the equality of funding for sports. Like, I think all of these themes are best fit for a wider audience. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have it. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, JD. I really appreciate you taking the time. And as I said, we're very excited to share your film with the greater Norwalk area.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much.
That ends the first episode of the Norwalk Film Festival podcast. Check out our website, norwalkfilmfestival.org, for ticketing info, schedules, and more. Also, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Norwalk Film Festival to stay up to date on everything happening with the weekend coming up. We are an entirely volunteer organization, and we do it all for you guys. We do it for our filmmakers, for film lovers, everybody to come out and see it. We're entirely supported by our ticket sales from the previous year, so we really look forward to seeing you at the festival at the Wall Street Theater and Norwalk Public Library this January. Thanks for listening, and look forward to seeing you in Norwalk.